So, hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain magic realism in Midnight Children. So, this is my academic information, table of content, my research question. Can magical realism be seen as a tool of post colonial resistance? Hypothesis. Magical realism in Midnight Children can be seen as a tool of post colonial resistance because it dismantles colonial narratives, rewrite history from an Indian perspective, and foreground marginalized voice by blending myth and reality. Rushdie challenge imperial authority and assert the multiplicity of post-colonial identity and experience. So, what is a magic realism? So, magic realism is mostly famous from Latin America, and magic realism try to portray the magical world, and so it blurs the line between reality and imagination. In author like Gabriel Garcia Marco and Isabella Allen are well known for using this style to tell rich, complex stories. Magic realism try to portray everyday life. Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. So Salman Rushdie used magic realism in Midnight Children. He was highly influenced by Grace, and in the Midnight Children he tried to portray hybridity, certification, magic realism, nationalism, politics, all kind of those things are portrayed in Midnight Children. Now, magical realism and narrative structure. The In Midnight Children, the telepathic protagonist. So, in Midnight Children, Salim has a power to teleport people with each other. So, in Midnight Children, we know that over 1008 people are Midnight Children who are born in the midnight of Indian Independence Day in 1470 in that. And so Salim has a power, and with that uh, he tried to summon the people and have a conversation with them. And second, character as embodiment. So Midnight Children are a living metaphor for Indians' diverse and complex future. So in this, all character are having a different identity. It shows the diversity of the India, then identity. So in Midnight Children, all the Midnight Children who have has a power, or a magical power, are showing the different identity of each and every state, and they all are unique and have a unique power. Then nationalism. So the telepathic link among the children symbolize a shared national consciousness, historical force. So Midnight Children is highly based on the independence of the India and the emergency. Those are connected with the Midnight Children novel. Salim as a allegory for the nation. So this story is about Salim. He represents the India. So the story, and so he represent India. And in this as India's history, he also has a history, and how he tried to portray that. And in this Salim and India's history are both connected, because Salim lived when India got independent. Salim also was born at that time, and then he showed the represent of history in the post-colonial and post-modern themes. So post-colonial themes like colonialism also represented in Salim's character. We can see that how colonialism affect the life of Salim, and history also affect the character of Salim. Postmodern themes like Salim's character portrayed as a uh, non-linear, or we can't trust him because whatever he's saying is true or not, we didn't know. And other postmodernism themes, other, and fluidity of the identity. So Salim's character changes in every aspect of life we live. So he try to portray fluidity. His identity changes. First, he was Indian, so he was connected with Indian culture, all those things. Then he was in Bangladesh, so there he play role as the army officer. When he forgot the his memory, then he come. Also, he was in Pakistan too, so there too he also flow with the changes in his life. And then The Tin Drum by Günter Grass. The novel used the greatest dwarf Oscar Matrix to satirize Nazi racial ideology and critique the German Catholic Church for its silence during the Ho- uh, Holocaust. Oscar's profane body and blasphemous action, like his drumming in church, serve to desert the scared and expose the church complexity. The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. This is written during Stalin Purge. This book uses the arrival of Satan to Moscow as a metaphor. The witchcraft and magical events stand in for the inexplicable disappearance under Stalinism, functioning as a form of a secular sacrilege against the state's enforced atheism. So these both novels are example of magic realism. And the challenge of defining imaginative art. So the limitation of the realism is that it blurs the line between reality and fantasy or imagination. So the whatever said by the character are true or imaginative, but we can't define that. It also blend history and nationalism with this. Then current critic and revolution of magic realism. The post-colonial critic theorists like Gayatri Spivak question the value attached to magic realism, seeing it as a Western code for determining what writing is welcome to the world literature, often masking first world radicalness. Modern versus postmodern. Critic in the subaltern approach see magic realism as closer to modern than the postmodern. Then magic realism, the hybrid mode. So as we know that the character of Salim was mixed blood of British and Indian blood. So it represents hybridity, and in our contemporary world too, we have hybridity like in food, in our culture, in clothing. All those things are a hybrid in contemporary world too. And Rushdie tried to portray the hybridity to show the reality of the world in these things. And the conclusion, Rushdie's Midnight Children employ magical realism to rewrite history, resist colonial narrative, and portray India's fragmented identity by merging fantasy with reality. He critique power and offer a hybrid vision of post-colonial culture and nationhood. So here is my reference. Anyone have any question?
So my question is, how do Rusdi and Morrison use supernatural elements to represent trauma and historical suffering?
So in Midnight Children, Rushdie used magic realism and tried to portray how Salim has a power, and in the in Toni Morrison's beloved Sethi's daughter also is ghost. So they both present the magic realism, and in historical suffering we can see that how Salim suffer from emergency and independence of the India, and in the beloved novel, in the Sethi how he affected by the racism and slavery. So so it both make a trauma, and how they, so Morrison and Rushdie both try to present supernatural element in this. Next question.
So, Nirali, my question is how does magic realism differ from fantasy or surrealism?
So magic realism is differ from fantasy and surrealism in approach of the reality. So in magic realism blur the line between reality and imagination. In Midnight Children, and the in fantasy the uh, in fantasy it all provide a imaginative world, like in the novel Lord of the Ring. It express the whole imaginative one, and then surrealism, it portrays the irrational or dreamlike world, like in the Kafka's metamorphosis novel. Thank you.